take it you have never seen a Romulan before.
That would be an incorrect assumption. I am told by various crew members that this viewport is their favorite on the ship.
I thought it would bring me some comfort, but these are not my stars. Even the heavens are denied me here.
Am I correct in assuming you regret your decision to come here?
What I did had to be done. But never again to see the fire falls at Golgotha and the spires of my home as they rise above the Apennine Sea at dawn. It's a bitter thing to be exiled from your own home.
Written by Ronald D. Moore, The Defector perfectly balances pathos with logos, action with dialogue. To me, the episode embodies all of the qualities which marks Star Trek: The Next Generation as a landmark series in television. And for this reason alone, The Defector is definitely a Trek for all time. At once emotionally charged, thought-provoking, and tense, the Defector moves the Enterprise crew to the edge of war with the Romulan Star Empire. But that's not how the episode begins. It begins in the holodeck. Data rehearses a scene from Henry V, a scene suggested by Sir Patrick Stewart himself to the writing staff. Now, this was a timely suggestion by Stewart, because Kenneth Branagh's adaptation just launched in theaters. And I always appreciated how The Next Generation portrayed these men and women of science taking delight in the arts. This balanced depiction of the 24th century human makes a vital statement about the necessity of the arts and the sciences for humanity to flourish fully. Now, I argue something similar in my look at the Star Trek Discovery episode Die Trying. Go check it out. Anyway, the seeds of this episode's conflict are planted in this scene from Henry V. As the disguised king, Data discusses the nature of the man behind the title of king, behind the leader of men. Behind the title and position is just a man, full of flaws, of fears, of uncertainty. But who is the analogy for Henry V in The Defector? I argue that for different reasons, the three major leaders of the episode each share some thematic meaning with the king: Picard, Garak, and Tomalak. For Tomalak, I'll just say this. In the Norton Anthology of Shakespeare's work, it says that a successful king is not necessarily a moral king, that morality and success in warfare and kingship is not necessarily, tied together. And this is definitely true with Tomalak. He uses deception to acquire power and glory.
On screen.
Captain Picard, it seems this time you are the one who has made an aggressive move across the neutral zone.
As I'm sure you already know, we were responding to warnings of Romulan incursions at Nelvana 3.
But Captain, as you can see, there is no incursion. We are studying Nelvana 3 for archaeological research. Would you have us believe this satellite is an excuse for your aggressive charge across the neutral zone?
Get to it, Tomalak!
You see, Picard, I intend to display its broken hull in the center of the Romulan capital as a symbol of our victory. It will inspire our armies for generations to come.
All the communiques, they were all fiction, written for my benefit, a test of my loyalty. And you used me to lure the Enterprise into the neutral zone.
For the purposes of this video essay, I'm going to focus on Garak and Picard, who both are thematically linked to Henry V. Because The Defector is truly Admiral Jirach's story, I'll begin with our favorite Romulan defector. In his New York Times bestseller, Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human, Harold Bloom asserts that a king is necessarily something of a counterfeit. As he continues to examine Henry V, Bloom goes on to claim that Henry is a great king because Shakespeare does not let us locate the king's true self throughout the play. And this ambiguity of identity seems to shape Jirach's part in this story. Of course, he lies about his identity to the Enterprise crew at first, but that was so his warning and pleas for peace would be believed. But truly, the Admiral does not even know himself now that he has left the Empire. Throughout the episode, he grapples with the reality of his new self, traitor. And you know, Picard was uncharacteristically undiplomatic and sympathetic with Jirach, compelling him to reveal the truth and any useful information they could use to prepare for their encounter with the Romulans in the neutral zone. As a viewer, I have always been drawn to Picard's strength of will and clarity of purpose. I enjoy when he speaks truth unwaveringly into a situation. But the harshness with which he treats Jirach always startled me. This was, however, a calculated deception on Picard's part, meant to compel Jirach to accept his choices, to accept his new identity as traitor.
I cannot betray my people.
You've already betrayed your people, Admiral. You've made your choices, sir. Now, if the bitter taste of that is unpalatable to you, I am truly sorry. But I will not risk my crew because you think you can dance on the edge of the neutral zone. You've crossed over, Admiral. You make yourself comfortable with that.
To no longer know oneself is quite unsettling, yet relatable. Loss of career, loss of position, loss of family members, loss of marriage, loss of faith. All of these life events can situate an individual in a position of not quite recognizing the person in the mirror. And Picard especially understands this post-assimilation, which the first episode of Picard, Remembrances, actually refers to.
Have you ever been a stranger to yourself?
Many, many times.
Best known for his tragedies, Shakespeare crafted characters who, through a tragic flaw in their character, fall from their position of power. So, is Jirach a Shakespearean tragic character? Perhaps, but his flaw seems to be most admirable. His loss of power, position, family, and home is an outgrowth of his love. Jirach is a patriot for the Empire. He left it to save it from itself, from its desire for war with the Federation, a war which would claim the lives of more loyal Romulan soldiers, like his sons in previous wars.
On what basis, Admiral, am I to decide? Your good word?
Do you have any children, Captain Picard? A family?
No.
Then you have sacrificed too much for your career. There comes a time when he looks down at the first smile of his baby girl and realizes he must change the world for her. It is for her that I am here. Not to destroy the Romulan Empire, but to save it.
Like any effective story, the world building and plot is suddenly stripped away and contextualized in the intimate heart of a character. Just think of Jirach. Just pause and think of him. Remove the ears, the prosthetics, the setting in space, and think of the man. Think of him cradling his daughter. Think of him rocking her in his arms around his living room, the pictures of his fallen sons on the mantle. He sighs heavily. into the deep evening light, and in that moment has the courage to die to himself and work for peace by deceiving every person and institution that he has known in his entire life. His wife, his daughter, his people. He does all of this for the hope of peace, but more importantly, for the love of his daughter. You see, the Norton Anthology of Shakespeare argues that a true leader has to lead with some level of deception. And this might seem oddly true, for leaders must often mask their insecurities, their frailties, their doubts when leading.
The topography on this map is a little vague.
Let me see. This way.
You don't really know, do you?
What?
I mean, you're acting like you know exactly which way to go, but you're only guessing. Do you do this all the time?
No, but there are times when it is necessary for a captain to give the appearance of confidence.
Deception in this case is an admirable trait, one that leads Jacques down a road that is quite heroic and courageous. And like I said, it all stems from love. The beauty of this episode is that Jacques' story itself is moving and complex. Yet he is also a catalyst for a somber tale of a leader preparing to either prevent or engage in war. The tension is richly constructed throughout the story and found in Patrick Stewart's performance. This is episodic television. The story resets. The consequences are often light, but the story, the direction, the performances, the dialogue, all of this constructs a palpable tension and anxiety that has real gravitas, real stakes.
Is there something else you require of me, Captain?
Your clarity of thought. Your objectivity, as always. Later, it's very possible that we are about to go to war. The repercussions of what we do during the next 24 hours may be felt for years to come. I want you to keep a record of these events so that history will have the benefit of a dispassionate view. How is the crew's spirit?
They are concerned, of course, Captain, but confident. Do you not see that, sir?
Data, unlike King Henry, it is not easy for me to disguise myself and walk among my troops. That'll be all.
This scene nicely refers back to the scene from Henry V, infusing Picard with thematic relevance from that play. Picard is that courageous leader who inspires as he leads his men into battle, just like Henry V. And he does bravely spar with his Romulan counterpart, Tomalak, when confronted by two Romulan warbirds. Like Henry V, Picard's words are finely honed weapons, aimed for a specific purpose.
If the cause is just and honorable, they are prepared to give their lives. Are you prepared to die today, Tomalak?
And I have to just pause in my analysis of character and theme here to just sit in awe of how tense and action-packed this episode seems without much action happening at all. When the Klingons decloak, flanking the Enterprise, a gorgeous, exciting starship battle is suggested. The colors of the Klingons' engines burn red in the frame. The dark green of the warbirds contrasts the cool grays of the Enterprise. Everything about the framing of this image is dynamic and energetic without relying on dizzying CGI. This is the mark of a masterpiece. But I have to also spotlight the opening chase scene between the warbird and the scout ship. That action scene contrasts the holodeck scene drastically. pulling the narrative into the inciting incident with an effective hook, setting up so many questions, as a teaser should do.
Outpost Sierra 6 confirms our reading, sir. They identify it as a Romulan scout ship.
What would a scout ship be doing this far into the neutral zone?
Captain, the Romulan is hailing us.
Open the channel.
Federation ship, do you read? I require urgent assistance. Please help me. Requesting asylum. Under pursuit.
Overall, the Defector perfectly balances action with thought-provoking character work. It explores timeless themes of leadership, of war, of identity, and of loss. And loss of identity is what leads to Jarak's tragic death. His proud, agonizing sacrifice for his daughter, for his people, was for nothing.
I did it for nothing. My home, my family, for nothing.
And I'm just gutted in that moment of realization. Betrayed by his own people, Jarak appeared to be committed to a truthfulness unique among his race, which exiles him from his identity, his culture, his self, and his very life. In the final scene, as Picard and crew stand above the dead admiral, we are left to wade in the somber reality of the story. And Picard sort of eulogizes the man, noting his courage and offering his efforts as a sort of beacon of hope that peace between the Romulan Star Empire and the Federation can someday be won.
But if there are others with the courage of Admiral Jarok, we may hope to see a day of peace when we can take his letter home.
And how fitting that Picard would later go on to champion Federation support for Romulan refugees. So much so that he stakes his entire career in Starfleet on it. Perhaps it was his interaction with the courageous, tragic Admiral Jarok which planted the seeds of sympathy for them. And in any case, it is the tragic story of Jarok, the tense performances, the dynamic space scenes, and the exploration of true leadership which defines the Defector as a trek for all time.
I did it for nothing.